The opening moment unfolds under the glow of the city's late-night lights, casting an almost cinematic frame around Lena Parker as she exits the towering skyscraper, where she has spent years carving her career into something unshakable. Her sharp heels click against the pavement, a rhythm of control and self-assurance, until her gaze catches something that doesn't belong in the sterile order of her life. Ethan Hayes, leaning against her car. The sight is like a fracture in her reality. For a split second, time folds back, and she is 22 again, standing in a white dress that was never worn, humiliated in front of family and friends when he walked away with Sophie, her closest confidant. But now, a decade later, the positions are reversed. He no longer looks like the man who once radiated charm and arrogance. His shoulders are hunched, his face etched with desperation, and his voice trembles as he whispers her name, Lena. I need to talk, please, just once. That simple plea carries the weight of 10 years. Years that hardened her. Years that forced her to rebuild. The power dynamic is immediately clear. Where he was, once the one who left her shattered. Tonight, he is the one on fragile ground, begging for her attention. The city hums around them. But in this moment, the world feels reduced to just the two of them, past and present colliding in a single breath. For Lena, the shock of Ethan's presence is less about his words, and more about what they unleash inside her. Memories strike like shards of broken glass, jagged and sudden, the look on Sophie's face when their betrayal surfaced, the pitying glances from relatives at the ruined wedding, the hollow silence of nights spent questioning her worth. These are not simple recollections. They are scars, buried deep, yet never forgotten. And yet, seeing Ethan like this, stripped of pride, voice trembling, posture broken, stirs something complex in her chest. Not sympathy, not forgiveness, but a sharp awareness of how much she has changed since the day he left. She remembers the girl who wept, the girl who questioned every ounce of herself, the girl who thought her world ended with him. But that girl is gone. Standing here now, Lena is not defined by betrayal, but by resilience. She has built walls of steel, learned to thrive in a world where trust could not be casually given. Ethan's sudden reappearance threatens to pry at those walls, but she refuses to let him see weakness. Her silence stretches out deliberately, reminding him of the power he forfeited long ago, where once she might have crumbled at his words. Tonight, she steadies herself, her expression unreadable, her voice waiting to strike. The confrontation comes sharp and unyielding, her words cutting through the tension like glass. After everything, you think I owe you a conversation? It is not a question. It is a verdict. Ethan flinches, as if the words themselves strike him, his desperation colliding with her composure. This is the hook of the story, the reversal that grabs the audience and refuses to let go. For years, Ethan carried the image of Lena as the broken woman he left behind. But standing before him now is someone entirely different. A woman who wields her pain like armor. The tension is electric, not simply because of their shared past, but because of the way their roles have inverted. He was once the chooser, the one with control, but now he is the supplicant, stripped of power. And she is the one who decides whether this story continues. The scene leaves viewers with a pressing question. Why has he come back? And what could possibly be so urgent that he risks facing the woman he once destroyed? The drama here isn't just personal. It's layered with themes of betrayal, redemption, and the human hunger for closure. By ending this beat with Ethan vulnerable and Lena unshaken, the stage is perfectly set for the emotional battle ahead, one where every word, every glance, Every unspoken memory threatens to reopen wounds, while also revealing the possibility of unexpected truths. Lena Parker is the embodiment of what it means to rise from ruin. At 32, she holds her ground as one of Chicago's most respected corporate attorneys. Her name associated with sharp wins in boardrooms and courtrooms alike. Colleagues see only the polish, the impeccable suit, the confident stride, the eloquence that disarms even the most seasoned adversaries. To the outside world, she is the woman who has it all: independence, influence, and financial security. But beneath that armor lies a quieter truth. Lena's life is meticulously structured, not simply for ambition's sake, but as a shield against chaos. Relationships, especially romantic ones, are handled like fragile contracts, drafted carefully, reviewed often, and abandoned at the first sign of instability. The betrayal of a decade ago left her with a lingering mistrust, not just of men, but of her own ability to judge character. She has built a fortress of success, yet within its walls there is a solitude that whispers during long nights. Her bed is cold, her apartment sleek but impersonal, and her victories, while satisfying, often feel hollow once the courtroom applause fades. She is thriving outwardly but emotionally untethered, a woman who learned to survive by severing herself from vulnerability. This is Lena's present paradox. She is both formidable and fragile, admired yet isolated, strong enough to conquer every challenge, but unwilling to risk the one thing she craves most: intimacy without fear. In sharp contrast, Ethan Hayes' trajectory has been the reverse, from golden boy to cautionary tale. Once celebrated for his charm and entrepreneurial drive, Ethan built a promising business with Sophie by his side, a partnership that seemed to justify the betrayal that tore Lena's world apart. But time, as Lena learned through whispers, gossip, and the curated drama of social media, was merciless to him. Sophie, the woman for whom he risked everything, bled him dry, financially, emotionally, and reputationally. Investments collapsed under her reckless spending, deals soured, and when the money dwindled, so did her loyalty. By the time she left, Ethan's company was bankrupt, his social circle reduced to silence, and his once enviable confidence replaced by a reputation for failure. Lena never sought him out, never stalked his downfall, but pieces of it drifted to her unbidden. A headline about his business closure, a mutual acquaintance's hushed update at a cocktail party, the unmistakable evidence in the hollowed look of his recent photographs online. For Lena, the knowledge came not with triumph, but with a strange, detached curiosity. The man who once seemed untouchable had crumbled, and though part of her felt vindicated, another part bristled with unease. His suffering was not her victory. If anything, it underscored the futility of the love she once gave him so freely. Ethan's present state, broke, disgraced, and utterly alone, is a living echo of the choices he made, a mirror of everything. Lena refuses to become dependent, discarded, and defined by someone else's power. If Lena's career is the armor that shields her, then her brother Caleb is the anchor that keeps her human. Younger by 5 years, Caleb admires his sister not just for her success, but for the resilience she embodies. To him, Lena is the reason he believes in fighting back when life breaks you. Yet he also sees what others do not: the cracks behind her strength. In quiet moments, when her laughter doesn't quite reach her eyes, when she brushes off questions about her personal life, Caleb senses the loneliness she hides beneath her iron will. Their sibling bond forms the emotional heartbeat of the story, a reminder that beneath Lena's professional brilliance lies a woman still wrestling with ghosts. For Lena, Caleb represents unconditional love, the kind that asks for nothing and cannot be betrayed. Through him, we glimpse her vulnerability, the part of her that longs for connection, but has been too afraid to risk it again. At the core of her wound isn't just Ethan's betrayal or Sophie's treachery. It is the devastating belief she once held, that her worth was measured by Ethan's love, that her future depended on his approval. Losing him didn't just break her heart, it shattered her sense of value. This false belief continues to shadow her life, silently dictating her fear of intimacy and her reliance on achievement as a substitute for affection. The setup makes clear that Lena's journey will not simply be about confronting Ethan. It will be about dismantling the lie that has imprisoned her for years. Caleb, as her grounding force, becomes both her mirror and her guide, illuminating the truth she must face, that her value has always been hers alone. The next pivotal moment arrives not in the shadows of the night, but in the bright, glass and marble sterility of Lena's office. She is buried in contracts when the receptionist buzzes her, voice tight with discomfort. "Miss Parker, there's someone insisting on seeing you." Before Lena can refuse, Ethan Hayes walks in, not the polished charmer she once knew, but a man frayed at the edges, clutching a battered folder like it's the last piece of ground beneath his feet. His suit is wrinkled, his eyes bloodshot, and his pride has been stripped down to desperation. He doesn't waste time with pleasantries. Instead, he places the documents on her desk with trembling hands. "I'm being sued," he admits, his voice cracking under the weight of humiliation. "Fraud charges. I've lost everything, Lena, and the only lawyer I trust to even look at this is you." The audacity stuns her. For years, he was the embodiment of betrayal, the reason she built her career on granite instead of sand, and now he dares to ask for her help. The office air feels charged, suffocating. As Lena studies the papers without touching them, her heartbeat a mixture of rage and disbelief. Ethan doesn't plead further. His silence is heavier than words, his presence a reminder of scars that never truly faded. The request is absurd, insulting, even yet beneath it lies a current of inevitability, the sense that this confrontation was always destined to happen. Lena doesn't simply refuse. She lets her anger slice through the polished calm she usually wears. Her bitter laugh cuts the silence, sharp enough to make Ethan flinch. "You want me to save you after you destroyed me?" she says, her voice steady but laced with venom. Years of buried rage rise to the surface. Memories of the wedding that never was, the whispered gossip of betrayal, the image of Sophie at his side. Her words echo not just in the room, but in the hollows of Ethan's conscience, forcing him to confront the cruelty of his past actions. Ethan's expression tightens. He doesn't argue, doesn't justify, but the shame in his eyes tells her he has already rehearsed this humiliation in his mind. Still, desperation makes him stubborn. "I know I don't deserve it," he admits, "but I have no one else. You're the only person who can outthink Sophie." The irony is bitter. He once left Lena for Sophie, and now he wants Lena to protect him from her. But Lena is not the woman she was a decade ago. She leans back in her chair, arms folded, the embodiment of control. Her laughter fades, replaced by ice. "Then you'll have to find someone else," she says flatly, already reaching for the papers to slide them back toward him. The tension spikes, because the refusal isn't just professional, it's personal vindication, a reclaiming of the power she lost years ago. For a moment, she feels liberated by her rejection. But Ethan isn't finished. With a strained breath, he forces out the detail that shifts everything. "It's Sophie. She's behind this. And she's dragging your name into it." The words freeze Lena's hand mid-motion. In a single moment, The conflict ceases to be about Ethan's downfall and becomes about her survival, he explains in fragments, shame dripping from every sentence. Sophie is claiming Lena aided Ethan in past deals, weaving her into the fraud narrative, threatening to tarnish her reputation. The very career Lena built as proof she was more than his Suddenly, this isn't just about Ethan's mess. It's about her integrity, her hard-earned respect in a profession where whispers of impropriety can end decades of work. Rage shifts into calculation. If she walks away, Sophie's accusations could spiral unchecked, staining her name forever. If she steps in, she risks reopening wounds she has spent 10 years stitching closed. It is a cruel bind, one only Sophie could orchestrate, weaponizing Lena's past against her present. With her jaw tight, Lena finally exhales, the weight of the choice pressing against her ribs. "Fine," she says. At last, each word deliberate. "I'll represent you, but don't mistake this for forgiveness. My terms, my way, and when this is over, we are done." The decision is less about helping Ethan and more about protecting herself from Sophie's reach. Yet, beneath the steel of her voice lies a flicker of something else: fear, not of losing the case, but of losing herself again to a history she thought she had buried. This forced alliance sets the stage for everything to come. A reluctant partnership, bound not by love, but by necessity, mistrust, and the dangerous pull of unfinished business. The tension in Lena and Ethan's renewed association manifests first in the courtroom, a space where Lena's brilliance shines unrelenting. She strides into court with the poise and authority that earned her reputation, the kind of presence that makes opposing counsel pause mid. As Sophie's legal team presents half-truths and insinuations, Lena dismantles each claim with precision, her arguments sharp, her cross-examinations surgical. She exposes inconsistencies, challenges credibility, and turns whispers into public acknowledgement of Sophie's manipulations. All the while, Ethan hovers near the sidelines, his body language betraying his unease. Slumped shoulders, anxious glances, hands fidgeting with pens. It is humbling for a man once defined by ego and charm to rely on the woman he once abandoned. The juxtaposition is stark. Lena commands every room with confidence, while Ethan's shame is almost palpable. Each victory she secures, reminding him of both his dependence and his failure. The audience sees the professional friction and the simmering personal history layered beneath it. Her satisfaction in mastering the courtroom versus his silent, growing awareness of the consequences of his past choices. Even as he admires her, there is an unspoken acknowledgement of guilt and vulnerability. A realization that she is not just the lawyer who can save his career, but the woman he wronged and underestimated. The stakes of the legal battle are heightened, not just by the money or reputation on the line, but by the psychological power dynamics. Lena has regained control, and Ethan is learning, painfully, that brilliance and resilience cannot be bargained for with charm alone. Outside the courtroom, the late-night strategy sessions provide a different kind of tension. As they pore over evidence and rehearse testimonies, the quiet hum of the office brings back memories neither can escape. Lena catches glimpses of their shared past in small gestures, the tilt of his head as he listens intently, the faint smile when a clever legal angle occurs to him. It triggers flashes of laughter from years ago, of long nights talking about dreams and ambitions, of warmth they once shared. The nostalgia is almost cruel, a reminder of intimacy that now feels like a forbidden landscape. Ethan's demeanor softens during these sessions, stripped of arrogance and replaced with a quiet sincerity that Lena hadn't anticipated. Each moment is a dagger. The man before her is capable of genuine remorse and insight, yet still tied to the memory of betrayal. She finds herself unsettled by it. Anger and longing intermingle in a complex, emotional cocktail. Lena is forced to confront not just the professional stakes, but the personal ones. The tension of standing close to someone who once held immense emotional sway over her, who once shattered her trust, and who now shows vulnerability she cannot easily ignore. Every exchanged glance or collaborative idea stirs recognition of the depth of their past connection, and the audience can feel the underlying friction, the push and pull between control and compassion, between judgment and memory. It is in these intimate, unsupervised moments that the real emotional conflict begins to simmer, laying the groundwork for revelations and confrontations that extend beyond the courtroom. The personal tension reaches a different dimension through Lena's interactions with her younger brother, Caleb. He observes her late nights, the toll it takes on her, and the strange mixture of care and frustration she displays toward Ethan. In quiet conversations, he challenges her. Why are you helping the man who broke you? Why let him back in? Lena responds with her practiced calm, insisting it's about safeguarding her reputation, protecting the years she spent building a life on trust and competence. Yet her eyes betray a more complicated truth, even as she rationalizes the legal necessity. The audience glimpses her inner struggle, the conflict between resentment, residual attachment, and the subtle pull of old affection. Against this backdrop, Ethan begins to speak differently, no longer defensive or evasive, but with candid admissions that pierce through Lena's carefully constructed barriers. He acknowledges mistakes without excuses. I was selfish. I thought she loved me. I lost you because I couldn't see your worth. The raw honesty shakes Lena in ways strategy and logic cannot. These moments strip away layers of pretense, revealing a man capable of vulnerability and self-reflection, and forcing her to question whether the anger she clings to is justified, or if it masks unresolved grief and longing. The emotional undercurrent, a mixture of guilt, desire, and unresolved history, weaves seamlessly with professional stakes, ensuring that the audience feels the dual tension of personal reckoning and legal maneuvering. The scene lays a foundation for inevitable confrontation and possible reconciliation, showing that the story's rising action is not only about external battles, but the internal journey of two people confronting the consequences of the past while navigating the precarious present. The courtroom is tense, electric with anticipation, as Lena Parker delivers the cross-examination that will unravel years of deceit. Sophie, confident at first, presents herself with calculated poise, attempting to maintain the facade that framed Ethan as culpable. But Lena's precision is relentless. Each question a scalpel, each pause strategically placed to highlight inconsistencies. As the evidence mounts, Sophie begins to crack. The carefully constructed narrative she relied upon starts collapsing under the weight of undeniable truth. Under Lena's unyielding scrutiny, Sophie finally confesses, her voice trembling. It wasn't Ethan. It was me. I used his trust to orchestrate everything. Gasps ripple through the courtroom. The confession is a seismic shift. Not only does it vindicate Ethan, but it also lays bare the extent of his betrayal by someone he once believed was loyal. The audience witnesses the intricate weaving of legal acumen and personal stakes. Lena's brilliance doesn't just secure a verdict. It exposes hidden truths. This moment is climactic because it delivers resolution to the case while simultaneously unearthing the raw emotional history binding Lena and Ethan. The courtroom, usually a neutral arena, becomes a stage where past hurts, professional mastery, and moral clarity intersect. The revelation is cathartic, satisfying the legal arc while setting the stage for the personal reckoning that follows. For Lena, it is a dual victory. Justice is served, and the deception that once manipulated her life is finally dismantled. Yet the victory is bittersweet. The man she is saving is the very man who once shattered her trust, forcing her to confront the delicate balance between justice, power, and unresolved emotional wounds. As the gavel strikes and Ethan is officially exonerated, the courtroom tension shifts inward, toward Lena's own heart. Professionally, the case is resolved. Legally, Ethan's name is restored. Yet personally, Lena feels an unexpected tremor of conflict. Exonerating Ethan is not merely an act of justice. It is a confrontation with the scars he left behind. She remembers the wedding that never happened, the humiliation of betrayal, and the nights spent doubting her own worth. Power, once lost to him, now resides entirely with her. But the irony is sharp. Freeing him from Sophie's machinations means symbolically reopening the chapter of her life that he once destroyed. She sees the vulnerability in him, the shame, the gratitude, and the recognition of what he lost, and realizes that her control over this moment is absolute. Yet control is not comfort. It is responsibility. Lena must now navigate a complex emotional terrain where legal victory intersects with personal reckoning. Every glance from Ethan, every whispered thank you across the courtroom, becomes a mirror reflecting both the man he is now and the wounds of the man he once was. She understands that exoneration does not automatically heal her pain. It only illuminates it. And this illumination forces Lena to confront her deepest truth. She has grown stronger, wiser, and independent, but her emotional scars are still real. The twist is subtle but profound. Lena's triumph is not just about proving truth in the courtroom, but about reclaiming herself from the shadows of betrayal. It is a victory of intellect and will, yet it also opens the door to emotional complexity, where forgiveness and power collide in ways neither character anticipated. After the courtroom empties, the emotional gravity of the day culminates in a private confrontation. Ethan falls to his knees, stripped of pretense, his voice raw with remorse. "Lena, I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I can't live without asking for it." The words hang heavy in the silence, reverberating against the walls of the office and within Lena's chest. He is vulnerable in a way he never was before. And yet, for the first time, Lena does not break. She meets his gaze steadily, recognizing both the man who hurt her and the one who has been exposed to truth and consequence. Her response is deliberate, measured, and layered with power. She lifts him up, not as an act of reconciliation, but as a declaration of control. "I forgive you. Not for you, but for me," she says, her voice steady, a mixture of steel and compassion. In this moment, Lena redefines the narrative between them. Forgiveness is no longer about him earning redemption. It is about her reclaiming agency, releasing the weight of years of anger and self-doubt. The power exchange is tearful yet transformative. She holds the emotional authority, guiding the closure on her terms, while Ethan experiences the humbling acknowledgement of his wrongs and the grace of her boundaries. This scene crystallizes the story's central tension, the intertwining of justice, love, and self-empowerment. The audience witnesses Lena's evolution. She is no longer the woman defined by betrayal, but the architect of her own emotional liberation. The climax is complete, not in a romantic reunion, but in the subtle mastery of self, where forgiveness becomes a tool of empowerment and closure is finally claimed on her own terms, leaving both characters irrevocably changed. With the conclusion of the high-profile case, Lena Parker's professional stature reaches unprecedented heights. Colleagues and peers recognize not only her legal brilliance, but also her ability to maintain composure under intensely personal circumstances. News outlets highlight the deft way she dismantled Sophie's manipulations, and her courtroom victories become case studies in corporate law seminars. Within her firm, partners express admiration for her unwavering focus and strategic mind, noting that few could navigate a case that intertwined professional stakes with deeply personal betrayal. For Lena, the victory is more than reputation. It is validation of the resilience she cultivated over years of heartbreak and professional rigor. Every motion she filed, every cross-examination she delivered reflects not only technical mastery, but emotional control. The very skill that allows her to separate her private history from her work. The courtroom that once symbolized challenge and scrutiny now stands as a testament to her strength. A place where her intellect and determination could triumph over deception and personal entanglements alike. Lena experiences a subtle, satisfying pride in her accomplishments, but unlike her past, this pride is untainted by external approval or dependence on anyone's validation. She has achieved success on her own terms, and the recognition from others underscores what she has long known internally. Her capability, integrity, and mastery over circumstance are set. The professional victory is intrinsically linked to her personal journey. Every accolade is a reminder that resilience can coexist with vulnerability, and that true power is not in retaliation, but in the unshakable ability to rise above past wounds without losing oneself. Ethan Hayes, once a figure of arrogance and reckless charm, emerges from the legal storm transformed by humility. Lena's forgiveness, granted solely for her own peace, forces him to confront the consequences of his past actions with honesty. He accepts her decision without expectation of reconciliation, understanding that his path to redemption begins with accountability, not entitlement. With his name cleared but his pride tempered, Ethan embarks on a quiet journey to rebuild his life, carefully, deliberately, and without shortcuts. Gone is the impulsive confidence that once blinded him to the cost of betrayal. In its place is a reflective awareness of how trust is earned and easily lost. He starts small, reconnecting with the parts of himself that were overshadowed by ambition and ego, focusing on integrity in business and personal interactions. This measured approach allows him to internalize the lessons of failure and humility, creating a life that is grounded, purposeful, and devoid of the recklessness that led to his downfall. Importantly, he no longer seeks Lena's approval or the validation of others. Instead, he begins to define success on his own terms, guided by honesty, respect, and the painful but instructive echoes of past mistakes. For the audience, Ethan's trajectory underscores the story's theme of growth through accountability, a narrative counterpoint to Lena's empowerment, illustrating that even those who falter can evolve when confronted with truth and the consequences of their choices. As the dust settles, Lena reconnects with the deeper sources of strength that have sustained her, her family, her moral compass, and her own sense of self-worth. Caleb, who has silently watched her navigate the storm, finally voices the admiration and awe he feels. "You showed me what it means to never let pain define you." His words resonate deeply, affirming the emotional arc Lena has traversed from betrayal to self-empowerment. She realizes that forgiveness is not synonymous with reconciliation. Releasing bitterness is a choice she makes for herself, not for Ethan or anyone else. The decade-long shadow of resentment lifts, leaving space for clarity, peace, and self. Lena's inner growth is palpable. She understands that strength is not measured by the suffering endured but by the courage to reclaim autonomy over one's emotions and decisions. She can now engage with life without fear of past betrayal shaping her choices, free to pursue relationships, ambitions, and passions with authenticity. The empowerment arc closes with Lena poised at the intersection of professional mastery, personal resilience, and emotional freedom. Her journey demonstrates that true closure is self-directed, that liberation comes from within, and that the past, while never forgotten, need not dictate the contours of the future. Lena's story becomes a testament to the transformative power of confronting pain with courage, asserting boundaries, and choosing forgiveness on one's own terms. A resonant, universal message of resilience and personal sovereignty. Weeks after the courtroom verdict and the intense confrontation with Ethan, Lena Parker finds herself drawn to a place steeped in memory. The small, secluded park where he once proposed. The location, once imbued with hope and promise, now carries a different weight. A silent testament to betrayal, growth, and survival. She walks slowly along the cobblestone path, eyes tracing familiar landmarks. The bench under the sprawling oak, the fountain that glimmered in sunlight, the worn pathways that marked countless shared moments of laughter and dreams. In her hand is a folded letter, carefully written and equally carefully untied. Words chosen not in haste or passion, but with deliberate intention. She sits on the bench, feeling the quiet pulse of the park around her, and leaves the letter in plain sight. The words are simple yet profound. You were once my future. Today, you are just my past. Thank you for teaching me how strong I could be. The act is both intimate and public, a ritual of closure that requires no acknowledgement from Ethan. No response, only Lena's assertion of emotional autonomy. In that moment, she allows herself to feel the weight of years lifted, the bittersweet pang of what was lost, mingling with a quiet pride in what she has gained. It is a deliberate step toward freedom, a personal acknowledgement that the past can inform strength without enslaving it. The park, once a symbol of potential happiness marred by betrayal, transforms into a space of reclamation. By choosing to return here, Lena asserts control over her narrative, embracing the memory not as a source of pain but as a milestone in her journey. After leaving the letter, Lena rises from the bench, the physical act mirroring her internal resolve. Her fingers brush against the delicate chain of the necklace Ethan had given her years ago, a relic of love, trust, and betrayal interwoven. In one fluid motion, she slips it off, holding it for a moment in quiet reflection. The gesture is not a cry of anger or resentment. It is an acknowledgement of transformation. The necklace, once emblematic of connection and expectation, now becomes a symbol of release. She walks a few steps to a nearby donation box, part of a charitable drive for women's shelters, and drops the necklace inside. The clink of metal against glass resonates faintly, a subtle punctuation in the otherwise serene park. By relinquishing the necklace, Lena externalizes her emotional emancipation. The tangible object represents a chapter closed, a lesson absorbed, and the conscious choice to move forward unburdened. This symbolic act is intimate, private, yet universal in its resonance. It speaks to the power of letting go, of transforming relics of the past into catalysts for personal liberation. For Lena, it is a quiet triumph, a way to honor the pain, gratitude, and growth simultaneously. In that single gesture, she converts memory into empowerment, teaching herself that strength is not only surviving betrayal, but also consciously choosing to release it. The donation box becomes a conduit of transformation, linking past and future, grief and growth, pain and empowerment, reinforcing that closure is an active, intentional process rather than a passive passage of time. As she turns from the bench, Lena's steps are measured, unhurried, imbued with a newfound sense of peace. A voiceover, soft yet unwavering, articulates the essence of her journey. Forgiveness isn't about giving someone a second chance. It's about giving myself a first chance to live free. These words encapsulate the culmination of years of struggle, betrayal, and growth, transforming internal reflection into an external declaration. The city skyline stretches before her, the evening lights casting long, golden reflections across glass towers and quiet streets. Unlike the woman haunted by betrayal and mistrust a decade prior, Lena's silhouette is steady, unbroken, a visual representation of resilience and autonomy. The camera, if imagined, lingers on her figure as she walks into the urban expanse, leaving behind both literal and figurative remnants of the past. There is no lingering regret, no turning back, only the forward motion of someone who has reclaimed agency over her emotions and decisions. The scene closes with a profound sense of balance and closure. The legal battles resolved, the emotional entanglements acknowledged, and the personal growth fully realized. The audience is left with the image of Lena as a woman defined not by the betrayal she endured, but by the courage, wisdom, and strength she cultivated in response. In this final beat, the arc of empowerment is complete. She has navigated heartbreak, injustice, and self-doubt to emerge not only victorious but authentically free. The park, the necklace, the city lights, and her confident stride all coalesced to leave an enduring impression. Closure is not found in others' actions but in one's conscious choice to forgive, release, and live unbound.